Alright everyone, today is the day. I have been waiting months at this point, it feels like, for FSD 14, and I finally have it. There's a lot to go over. I'll put up some screenshots on the side of the video. But let's go over briefly what we have here. With version 14, we get the option to add arrival options, so you can tell it to park in a lot, a street, a driveway, a garage, or the curbside. We'll test that in a minute when I set up navigation. Added handling to pull over or yield for emergency vehicles. Good to know. I wasn't aware that that did not work. I haven't had a chance to experience that. Added navigation and routing into the vision-based neural network for real-time handling of blocked roads and detours. That's interesting. I mean, the Tesla's always had, turn-by-turn navigation and routing, and it's had the vision-based AI, the full self-driving for a while. I guess there were two independent systems, and now it seems like they are feeding them together into the neural network, which is very handy. It should help with last-minute or like spontaneous traffic things. Like I've got a mall, maybe we can go through it, where they're doing construction right now, and the parking lot is crazy to get through, right? So we can see how it handles that. Once it tried to turn into a place where it was gated off and then it stopped, but hopefully it will pick up on that sooner and just avoid that weird issue. So we'll try that out. Sorry about that small break. I had some Jehovah's Witnesses pull up in my driveway. All right, some additional speed profiles. We had chill, standard, and hurry. Now there's sloth, Mad Max maybe. Static and dynamic gates, not sure what that means. Improved offsetting for road debris. Okay, so we're talking about tires, tree branches, boxes, anything that would be in the road that you need it to dodge that maybe it hasn't done before. Should handle that better. Oh, good. Improved handling of several scenarios, including unprotected turns. I've got one out here. We'll go out that way and see how it does. Lane changes, vehicle cut-ins, and school buses. Big one. I'd be most impressed if it does school speed limits appropriately, because it never does. At least 1329, here where I live, would not abide by any of the flashing school speed limit signs where you have to reduce your speed down to like 25. It never would. This is an interesting one. Improve FSD's ability to manage system faults and recover smoothly from degraded operation. I hope what that means is, like, when the sun shines into the camera or something happens, it doesn't just immediately yell at you to take over and shut off as soon as possible. Maybe it'll give you a little bit more grace period to handle that. That would be great. And this one, big one. Added alerting for residue buildup on interior windshield. That is huge. I just had my camera area of the windshield professionally serviced, where they took this housing off, they used a cleaner. 100% improvement in full self-driving. And those pesky speed humps in my neighborhood that would always plague me, I've not had an issue with them since the housing has been cleaned, and that was on version 13. So it's nice to know that the software will report now when there's a substantial amount of fogging that's going to impact FSD's ability to function. I think that's critical, and I love that. All right, and then upcoming, so not yet, and upcoming improvements will be to smoothness, sentience, not really sure what that's going to be when it plays out, parking spot selection, and parking quality. This is a 2024 Model 3, so it's the upgraded version, does not have a bumper camera. It used to only do back-end parking. It has now attempted at my chiropractor office to do front pull-in parking. But every time it goes right on the line, it straddles the line and parks in two spots. And I don't know why it does that. So interesting to see if there's an improvement there, although that does say upcoming. So maybe we won't have that in this current release we're about to test. Everything else is just extra detail on what I've just covered. And it says some UI improvements. So we'll explore that as we go. All right, let's get somewhere. Let's go to Let's see if we go to BJ's, we can go through, possibly go through the mall. Let's go, I tell you what, let's go here first, just to force our way through the mall. And I notice it's already avoiding some of the construction that's here, which is very interesting. Normally it would cut through, but let's add that. Trying to force it to go through and it won't. Let's add sheets. And let's see, edit our trip here. Let's go to, see what that does. Okay, that looks like it will attempt to go through. So let's see what happens. Now there's a few other things about not having to press and hold the brake when starting self-driving, but my self-driving is actually grayed out. What's happening there? Let me see if there's anything I have to click on. No. We do see that I'm on FSD 14.1.4 though. That's a particular version I'm trying today. Maybe I have to start reverse? Okay. Let's go back in it because I'm actually... It's not even giving me the option to start self-driving right now. This is strange. Maybe it's because my seatbelt's not on. Ah, there it is. Alright, so let's go into park. Let's start self-driving directly from the driveway. Oh, I tell you what, it's backing up a little faster. But then it slowed down probably because I've got a lot of pine needles and debris. I suspect that's why it's slowing down. So I was initially impressed because I thought it would have more confidence. Now I think it's struggling with the leaves. Probably thinks all of this is some kind of road debris. Be interesting to try that out later. I'll blow off my driveway and see if I get the same results. One of the updates I just mentioned was on the sensitivity to road debris. Maybe it's too sensitive. Wow, that just whipped on out. Pretty far into the cul-de-sac too. But it's going. It did just fine, even though it was a little bit faster. It's definitely moving faster with a lot more confidence. Here's our Jehovah's Witness friends. We'll get around them. Excuse me. Alright, so let's check out some visual improvements. Number one, this is different. Up here in this top left corner, it just says self-driving. It's got a little selection, downward arrow for standard. We'll see if that updates driving profiles in a moment. Okay, so if I click on that, now I've got sloth, chill, standard, hurry, and Mad Max all there. And we can tell it to park or do curbside at the destination. That's interesting. And, ooh, we can even say if there's a charger, find the charger that would be, you know, like maybe it's a third-party charger or even a Tesla charger at the location. I'm going to leave it on standard for now. Don't know if I'll ever try Mad Max, but just an interesting change to the user interface. Ooh, we got some phantom braking. What's going on here? You know, I suspect a lot of that right now is these leaves. So this could be an interesting issue. I would report this as, I don't know if I'd officially report it, but definitely some oversensitivity to road debris. The pendulum has swung the wrong way. Before it wouldn't see it. Now it appears that every leaf is going to cause it to freak out. So, but I am at least impressed that it can handle the, with the resolution of the video feed, it can handle these tiny things like leaves in the road and actually recognize them. So that just tells me that there is a very high quality feed going through the neural network right now, which is fantastic. I was always questioning, you know, did it not see things in the road because it's got like a lower resolution feed that it's operating on? But no, I would say it's definitely picking things up. And a point of note, one thing they should fix is the dash cam clips. They are so low quality. They're like 240p. Even when you save them to your phone, I think they might be slightly higher quality if I pull them directly from the drive, but the thumb drive. But still, I feel like I would like to get 1080 or even 4K dash cam clips from the car. So I'd really like for them to enable that. Maybe that's impossible right now because that would be a lot of need a lot of high bandwidth for writing that much data in real time. So, you know, there's a trade-off there. Maybe it writes and saves those videos in a slightly lower quality just for bandwidth purposes, but I would really like to get high quality feeds on my dash cam. I say that because I was passing what must have been a very old Cadillac, like from the movie Pink Cadillac, but it was red, had like the tail fins on the side. And I thought, oh, let me go into my dash cam and actually pull up the right side B-pillar feed where the car was. And the quality is so low resolution. It's like the original Bigfoot footage in the mountains. I mean, it's so bad. Like, I couldn't see any of it. So having some high quality feeds for the dash cam would be great. Alright. Let's see how we navigate through them all. Gonna mute for a second so I can blow my nose. Alright. Definitely a higher degree of confidence. I can tell, like, I mean, it's stopping sooner and taking off sooner. It's not hesitating as much at the stop signs. I would say right now, standard feels slightly aggressive, like a bit of an impatient driver, but not a careless driver. All right. So let's see. Now I don't actually want to stop anywhere. So what I want to do is let's take surge off. Let's just see what happens. I wasn't even paying attention. It noticed this pedestrian slowed down even though we're not at a crosswalk. I waved him on. That was pretty cool. No, we should not be going right. That's good. Cancel it. Let this car come through. That was probably... this is perfect. Okay. So that was probably me messing with the navigation. So we do have some construction where this is telling... where this is going to try and go through. So we'll see what happens when we get there. I will say overall already, I can definitely tell a difference in the... I don't know if you'd call it confidence or performance of the vehicle, but it's extremely responsive compared to version 13. Not that 13 wasn't responsive, but 14 feels like a driver that's just like, I need to get there and I'm going to be safe, but I'm going to make progress very fast. Alright, so we got a huge pile of stuff over here because, let's see, it's actually going to try and go into sheets. I don't want to do that. And I'm confusing. I'm changing the navigation right in the minute. Oh, okay. Not sure if I confused it. I think the yellow hash in the street, the no driving area. I think I was trying to get on like a little painted curb. All right, we cannot go down there. Please tell me you're not going to go down there. Good. All right, it knows right away it can't go down there. We got some construction going on. Let's see what happens. Not going to be able to turn on any of this, dude. Okay, this is good. This is good. It doesn't have to make this extra U, I don't think, so let's see what it decides to do once it clears this street. It should be able to go straight through, so we'll see if navigation updates. Yeah, we want to go straight across. We do not have to go left. We do not have to go left. I do not want it to go left. This is where I'm hoping those updates will make a difference. Now, this is... we only need to go through there. Okay. What is this doing? That definitely did not do the right thing there. That was not human. Maybe that'll be in 14.2. Wow, we're going to do a big U-turn. Okay, so overall, I would say that was a fail, and a fail specifically on one of the line items in the update, which was improved, routing and navigation combined with the full self-driving, like the visual aspect. So I guess what I was hoping for was something like that. That's why we went there, to test and see if it would, in that moment, pick a better way to handle that traffic. And it did not. And so I guess I'm just going to call that a failure for my expectations. I expected a lot more out of that. You go back, all we had to do was cross the street, go right into the BJ's parking lot, and it did not think it could do that, and we're doing this long turnabout. That's pretty crazy. Maybe it's because it doesn't show a road where the back of the BJ's parking lot is. Maybe navigationally it doesn't know that that's there, but again, that was one of the line items in the update, and I would say that is not very well reflected in this drive. Ooh, we got some hesitance there. That's not good. I don't know why it did that. And yeah, it's going to skip this turn in because it doesn't know that that's part, and I don't see it on the map there. So let's go in. Let's just see where this parks, and then we'll pick a second location to drive to. So far, a very mixed bag. I immediately see differences in the driving, but I also had very high expectations, and those expectations are not quite being met yet. Let's see what goes on here. Good. Right. Please don't try and park near the lady. Keep going. Oh, it is going to pull in straight forward and park. Holy moly. Okay. I'm going to move forward just a moment. That was actually, the Tesla did perfect. I'll explain why I'm moving forward in just a minute. Okay, that one's interesting. I've never had this version, this Model 3, do a pull-in forward parking in a single spot. Remember, I told you just before that it would straddle spots at my chiropractor. I've never seen it do that before. That, I would say, was perfect. The reason I pulled forward is that there was a driver in that car to the right of me, and an older lady. She looked kind of annoyed. I don't know if she was about to get out. And I also noticed with the kind of the radar look that it gave that I was very much hugging the right, which wasn't a problem. I was kind of like equidistant from both cars, but the way the car on my left had parked, it had forced the Tesla over. So I would say the Tesla parked perfectly, but it seemed like maybe I was going to impede on the lady next to me, her ability to get in and out of her vehicle. So I pulled forward. All right, so part one, very mixed bag. Very assertive and confident. That's great. Overly, it sees road debris much better. That's great. I would say it's probably overly sensitive to road debris at this point because it's fall and there's leaves, so thumbs down on that. Navigation, definitely a thumbs down on that. It was a little bit mixed. It did handle the construction area well, but not seeing the ability to drive straight through this, go 20 feet ahead and get into the parking lot, thumbs down on that. Pull-in parking forward into a single, normal / narrow parking spot. excellent. I did not expect that one bit. So part 1, we're doing great. All right, so part 2, we're gonna get out of this parking lot, go on the interstate a little bit, and see how it handles everything else. Why isn't it starting? Press and hold brake. Oh, that was weird. I don't know why it didn't just start. So with full self-driving on version 13 and earlier, the default was you would tell it to self-drive, and then you would have to press and release the brake to confirm before it would move. You had the option to turn that off so that when you press the button, it would begin driving. With version 14, the default now, the default is that you do not press the brake to confirm. Once self-driving is engaged, it begins. And I believe you do have the option to re-enable the brake press confirmation. Hold on, what's going on here? Okay, I was checking that because it was about to go and there was a car over there, but it did see it. Yeah, see, there's the brake confirm, which is off by default. Interesting. I thought we were going straight, going left, but it's okay. I don't know if it changed. I feel like it changed that last minute. I wonder if it altered my navigation. It did, because we're supposed to be going on the interstate. So, sorry, I'm gonna disengage. I don't like the re-navigation. So that is in the so in your navigation options, you can tell it to automatically choose a new route for you depending on how much time that new route could potentially save. I don't know if that's the issue in particular, but it did do a reroute. So when we were at that light, we were originally going to go straight through, and it decided to reroute and go left, which would have been a non-interstate route. I don't know exactly why. I don't know if there's a time savings or something it picked up on. So I disengaged to put us back on this path, which will take us to the interstate. Okay, I'm gonna do that. Let me explain that real quick. I did that because we had a leading green. The leading was going yellow. It was still going to be a yielding green. I would have wanted the Tesla to keep going so the other car was stopped. There was no need for us to come to a complete stop and yield before proceeding. That was just kind of annoying. And the car across from us is a model of car that sometimes looks like a, sometimes can be a police cruiser. So that kind of had me a little worked up because I wasn't sure how FSD was going to behave. It turned out it was some old person driving, but anyways, that probably had to do more with my stress than anything else. So we won't dock FSD for that. That was me being impatient. Also, I'm catching someone's smoking marijuana in one of these cars. So we'll go to the recirculate. Try and keep some of that out. Although I have to vent it out real quick. Alright, we're good. So let's see if I can edit this while driving. Settings. Yeah, okay, so I have it set to only reroute if it'll save me 10 minutes. Because I find if it only saves you 5 minutes, sometimes it reroutes you a little bit too much. So I'm not sure why it chose that other route. 10 minutes is definitely not the difference between these two routes. maybe that was that new update where it was thinking in the moment, hey, this could be a better way. So there's a potential there that what we were seeing was the newer update in effect, using vision to decide to route differently. It's just not what I wanted in that moment. When we get to our destination, when I'm headed back home, I'll put in the home address and have it navigate, but I'll pay more attention to seeing if it deviates from the route at all, so we can decide if that's some vision-based driving overriding of the navigation. All right, here we go. Heading on the interstate. And we are going to be exiting almost immediately, so should be staying in this lane. Alright, so I'm going to confuse it now. It does say FSD may be degraded right now because I took off its destination, but I've gone ahead and put it in. So now we're just going to circle back around to home and see what happens. And this time I'm going to pay a lot more attention to the navigation and if it makes any deviations from the planned route. Definitely a little bit more responsive, which I appreciate. Second Cybertruck of the day, that one's got a wrap on it. I've been known to be a little impatient with full self-driving sometimes, so this kind of come to a stop and then go immediately is a lot closer to how I would drive, so I feel less impatient with it. Good, it sees the dips in the road right here. That's nice. So I'm not sure if version 13 would have either paid that much attention or handled that as appropriately. There was a bit of a downhill slope right there at the light, and then the road humped over. And I do feel like version 13 would have hit that a little hard and not really noticed, because it was very subtle to see the road have a dip and a rise. And I would say this handled it very well. This guy's drifting a little close to the lane. It hit the brake. Oh, phantom braking. There's a little bit of a, not a pothole, but a place where a pothole had been paved over. The asphalt looked darker. It did kind of hit the brake for that. So I mean, definitely some phantom braking, or maybe we should say overly sensitive braking to road debris. I will say, though, that that's safer than just gunning it on the norm. Although if there was someone behind me and I hit the brakes like that, I could have caused an issue. But I think that's why it keeps applying the brakes pretty hard. I think it's just a bit overly sensitive. I haven't noticed any deviations on the navigation. Let's see. Okay, that's nice. Stopping so as not to block the intersection. Very nice. Oh, here we go. Cones, a car. I didn't even know this was here, so this is good. No issues so far with any of the roadwork cones or anything. So with the few notable hiccups in this drive, I will say that the temperament, which is the biggest thing that has changed from version 12 to 13, and now from version 13, I would say, to version 14, is the temperament of the vehicle. You know, version 12 was a bit like a teen who had just gotten their license. Version 13 was probably that same teen with a little bit more experience, overly cautious. Maybe you could better equate it to an elderly driver. All right, so maybe version 13 is the elderly driver, which, just stops at every stop sign for way too long and things like that. But this version 14 seems to be more of that, let's say, temperament-wise, of a middle-aged driver like myself. Always looking for places to get, quicker, abiding by the law, but like I'm gonna make that stop as brief as I can, and then I'm gonna keep going. It has like an energetic vibe, if you will, while still being safe. Maybe the best way to put it is, until the next update, it's like a good middle-aged driver in a city they don't know well. And that's kind of what happened. We were going to BJ's, and it didn't know it could cross the street, right? Like maybe it didn't know. Definitely, yeah, it feels better. It's really hard to describe just in these videos. If you only ever see videos of full self-driving, that you can never really convey the temperament. Like, how quickly does it accelerate? How aggressively does it brake? How much does it slow down on turns? When does it accelerate out of a turn? Like, these are all things that you have to experience in the car. And this definitely just feels like a stronger, maybe a little bit more impatient driver, but one that's still going to abide by all the rules, which would be a lot like myself. So I do feel like, of all the driving versions so far, not just for the hype, but this version I feel like drives the most like me. So outside of not being able to see the parking lot across the street to go to BJ's, I feel like this drives a lot like me. And the more it drives like I would, the less inclined I am to, what do you call it when you turn it off? well, you know, I forget the word, I'm blanking. Anyways, I'm less inclined to turn it off or to make last minute changes. I did a few times on this drive, only because I'm testing it. I'm testing it in a limited time frame, so I really need it to kind of do what I wanted to do to put it through tests. So I am being a little bit more impatient with it than normal. But I would say on the norm, if I was just driving here or there, at this point, I'll probably zone out. It drives like me. It feels a lot like I would drive, so I'm not going to be as nitpicky with it. I think all they need to implement is the preferred route option, like Apple Maps has, so that it will begin to take the routes that I normally take. And then I definitely see it as being, you know, time for the unsupervised self-driving. And disengagement was the word I was looking for. I had a few disengagements this drive only because I'm probably being a little bit more impatient than normal, but I would say overall I'm impressed. I like it. The thing that has blown me away the most this first drive was parking in the parking spot at BJ's. I have not seen a new Model 3, which does not have the bumper cam, do, you know, forward end parking correctly. It has done it before, but it would split the parking spots or do something like that. So that was very impressive that it went straight in. That's going to stick with me. I would say that's the #1 improvement I've seen. It did a fantastic job. Really kind of blew me away that it was able to do that. And I would say the second thing that I've noticed most is the road debris. I do feel like it's overly sensitive, but I feel like once they smooth that out, that reactiveness will be there as it needs to be for road debris. Because I honestly feel like the Tesla doesn't always see the road debris. You know, almost hit squirrels left and right in this thing. So I feel like that will become more of a non-issue. And I'm really looking forward to 14.2, which Elon says will make it feel like it's sentient, alive, like a true human driver. We are so close. This was a great drive. So if you like my content, please like, subscribe, and we'll do another video very soon.